George has done it!
Good defence from
Logie to Lewis. The inside left, 2 stood are out of goal and shot into the net. Arsenal were 1 up.
McNabb. Radford.
There's a minute left on the clock. Brady for Arsenal. Right across. Sunderland! It's there! It's 3-2!
Arsenal, one of the great names in world football. Highbury, a stadium renowned for its splendour and marble halls. Great games and great players spring to mind whenever the Arsenal is mentioned. James, Drake, Mercer, McClintock. Yet how different it all was 100 years ago, when a group of Scotsmen founded a works team who played their home games on a muddy field. For the first few weeks of the team's existence, they were known as Dial Square, simply because several of the 15 founder members worked there at the Royal Arsenal Armaments Factory at Woolwich. Very quickly the name Royal Arsenal was preferred, with Plumstead Common the home venue during that opening season in 1886. David Danskin and Fred Beardsley, 2 of the men instrumental in setting up the club, played in the first official fixture against Erith. The first known team picture of Royal Arsenal was taken in 1888. Already the team colours were red, due simply to the fact that Beardsley, a former Nottingham Forest player, had persuaded his old club to provide the then penniless Arsenal with the first set of shirts. 3 years later, and another change of name, Woolwich Arsenal was adopted. This is the main entrance to Woolwich Arsenal as it is today, the gateway flanked appropriately by cannon. Within 7 years of their foundation, the club were members of the Football League, and by 1894 impressive season tickets underlined the rapid rise in status. There was, however, no instant success on the field of play, although the first team squad of the 1895-96 season included a quality goalkeeper. His name, Harry Storer, the first Arsenal player to win representative honours. By now Arsenal played at the Manor Ground, and there they stayed until moving to Highbury in 1913. The first success came in 1904, promotion to the First Division. Major honours, though, still eluded them, and after Henry Norris took over the club in 1910, things deteriorated. In 1913, the Royals were relegated to Division 2 and were still there when the Great War brought league football to a halt. Incredibly, when football resumed in 1919, Norris brilliantly engineered Arsenal's elevation to the newly extended First Division of 22 clubs, and there they've stayed to this day. But it was the arrival of this man, Herbert Chapman, as manager in 1925 that signalled the start of Arsenal's greatness. Within a year his team were runners-up in Division 1, and in 1927, 40 years after being formed, Arsenal made their first appearance in an FA Cup final. Their opponents, Cardiff City.
Charlie Buchan captained an Arsenal team with names like Joe Hume, Tom Parker, Bob John. This was their first step towards eminence. Cardiff, under Fred Keener, had been losing finalists 2 years earlier. Now, with 8 internationals, they were at their peak. And with the referee's bow tie impeccably straight, a game of international quality was expected. As is often the case in cup finals, the play didn't live up to expectations, yet it did provide one never-forgotten incident, the Cardiff goal. It came when Ferguson shot low and hard. Lewis stopped it, but it eventually trickled into the net. A closer look at what happened. Ferguson shoots. Lewis gets down to it. Then, as he's challenged, he shapes to throw the ball away. But in his own words, it twisted on his new jersey, and in grabbing at it, he sent it rolling on into goal. For Lewis, ironically a Welsh international, the mistake was always to live with him. For Cardiff, it was their greatest moment, the pinnacle before the fall.
In contrast, Chapman's Arsenal, although disappointed, were not discouraged. And even though Charlie Buchan, holding the ball, retired the following year, Wembley was beckoning again in 1930.
Very good save.
Despite being put under some pressure in the closing minutes, Arsenal hung on to return to Wembley. The legend was beginning to unfold. Saturday, April the 26th, 1930, Wembley's Empire Stadium was packed. Arsenal's opponents none other than Huddersfield Town, the same club Chapman had led to 3 successive championship triumphs before moving south. As Arsenal's Tom Parker and Huddersfield's Tom Wilson led out the sides for the first time side by side, few believed the Londoners could upset the dominant team of the age. King George V surprised everyone by arriving unexpectedly for his first outdoor appearance since illness 18 months previously. After meeting the Huddersfield side, it was on to an Arsenal team that included the names of Eddie Hapgood, David Jack, Alex James, Joe Hume and Cliff Bastin. One of the most memorable games in the history of Arsenal FC was about to begin.
It was the quick thinking of Alex James that upset Huddersfield that afternoon with one of his rare goals from the planned return of his free kick by Bastin, which took the Huddersfield defence completely by surprise. Then an historic shadow fell across Wembley, the German Graf Zeppelin. A brief distraction only. For the moment, the drama was on the ground. A characteristic through pass by James gave Lambert Arsenal's second goal. Arsenal led by Tom Parker and won the cup for the first time. Their star illuminated the 1930s.
I need hardly say how pleased I am we've won the cup this afternoon. I'm very proud of the fact that the Arsenal's been successful in bringing the cup south once again.
Played right full back, and the second year I was there he made me captain. I followed Charlie Buchan. Charlie Buchan was captain and I was the second one. Herbert Chapman signed on in those days.
He was, without any doubt, the greatest manager of all time, because he lifted league football to professional level. He made the game a great entertainment industry. He knew tactics backwards and forwards. He got a great air for publicity. And in addition, he managed to persuade the players to lift themselves on behalf of the club. He said any idea that was in the club, even by the ground staff boys, he would accept if it was a good one. And one of the things he negotiated was changing the name of the underground station, which is bang opposite the North Bank, from Gillespie Road, as it was in those days, to Arsenal. And this wasn't an easy job because it meant millions of tickets had to be changed and station names had to be changed. The maps of the underground system had to be changed as well. And it took a lot of arguing to get this done. And that was just one of the things he did. I mean, his other flair for publicity was he advocated floodlighting. He put numbers on the backs of the players and played a match and persuaded Chelsea to do the same and was immediately given a rap by the Football League. He advocated artificial pitches. All these ideas were 15, 20 years before their time.
Here's Mr. Herbert Chapman, the famous manager, with his lads at Highbury. And now I'm going to ask him to introduce them to you. Mr. Chapman?
I must apologise this morning. I'm so husky I can scarcely speak. But my deputy, old Tom Whittaker, will perform. Now, Tom, do your stuff. All right. On my right, this is Boy Bastin. Plays outside left. Alec James, next. Wee Alec is called. Plays inside left. Jack Lambert, our smiling centre forward. Bob John, a Welsh international left half. Herbert Roberts, our tall centre half. Little Charlie Jones, another Welsh international. Frank Moss, our goalkeeper, Lancashire lad. David Jack, our inside right. Joe Hume, our flying outside right. And the popular captain, Tom Parker. He's not so old as he looks, by the way. La-di-da-di-da, la-di-da-di-da,
All good pals and jolly good company.
Amongst the players Chapman elevated to stardom in the early 30s was George Mayle. What did he feel were Chapman's greatest qualities?
He was a great psychologist. He was able to do things which probably a lot of other managers and probably a lot of other players wouldn't have stood for. But he did it in such a way, such a quiet, softly spoken way, that nobody ever seemed to take offence at him. And of course he could add a little bit of steel to that, what shall I say, soft manner, by the things he actually said, which were quiet and to the point.
Arsenal became league champions for the first time in 1931, and then a year later were back at Wembley for a third FA Cup final appearance. Newcastle United and controversy awaited them.
Arsenal were favourites, but the cup has often made the form book bankrupt. Still, Arsenal scored first when a right-wing centre was headed in by Bob John. Then it happened. Davidson's long ball to the goal line was chased by Richardson and hooked back for Allen to head in as Arsenal pulled up. Was the ball over the goal line before Richardson centred? This film demonstrates that it was, the whole of the ball. The goal that wasn't had equalised. From this angle, impossible to tell. Referees and linesmen, being human, are fallible. That's what makes them so lovable. Arsenal reacted with mature restraint, but the shock was harsh. From now on, the game slipped away from them. Allen had been a debatable choice at centre-forward for Newcastle, but he justified himself. This closer look shows how, as Newcastle took charge, Allen made time and space to beat Moss for his second and the winning goal.
Arsenal's growing stature was brought home in 1933, knocked out of the Cup by 3rd Division Walsall. It remains one of the greatest ever giant-killing acts, especially as Arsenal finished champions for the second time. Exactly 12 months later, Herbert Chapman was dead. Pneumonia had set in and claimed this visionary man, who many believe was the greatest football manager of all time. The mark of his greatness cannot just be measured in titles and triumphs. The standards he set have continued to live on at Highbury. The man who had the task of replacing Chapman was George Allison.
I'm here today with the Arsenal football team, and in a moment you'll see just what a fine lot of fellows they are. We're all looking forward most eagerly and in the keenest anticipation to the forthcoming season. As league champions, we have a very high standard of football to maintain, and I sincerely hope and trust and believe we will maintain it.
Maintain it they did. The championship was retained and new young faces like Dennis Compton were arriving. Allison's first signing, though, was Ted Drake.
It was a bit of a shock to me, a shock to anybody. You know, I'm playing for Southampton in those days, in the second. When I was asked, would I go and have a word with Mr. Allison? I said, Mr. Allison, Arsenal. And I said, what's on? You see, they said, well, there's a chance of you being transferred there. So I said, well, don't delay the time, please. And, oh no, I couldn't get there quick enough, really. And it was George Allison, his very first signing, so maybe I might have been dear old Herbert's last, but I wasn't, but I was George's first. And he had a hard job, you know, George Allison, taking over, because, you see, Herbert Chapman had set such a great example and whatnot, but George Allison and his players and his team and his trainers and his squad lived up to it, yes. If you look at his record, he did very well.
A third successive championship came to Highbury in 1935. The Cup was won in 36, and in 1938 the league title yet again. But Allison's work wasn't just on the field of play. In 1936, work began on an identical stand to face the one on the west side of the pitch. A year earlier, a roof had been built at the north bank end, but it was the new east stand costing £130,000, which remains to this day one of the most imposing structures in sport.
This was going to be the last word in, well, it was at the time, the last word in football stadia. I remember the dressing rooms were superb. There were tiled floors, and in winter, of course, you you can get cold feet, so they'd heated the area under where your feet went. And when you came in on a match day, all your playing kit was laid out, spick and span and businesslike, and you were going into a professional environment straight away, made for football. And in addition, of course, we had a gymnasium upstairs, treatment rooms, the latest thing in methods of getting players fit after they'd had an injury. Showers, baths, and luxury unlimited.
Oh, I think I've got to describe the Arsenal dressing rooms as very, very palatial. Beautiful. They spent a great deal of money on them. And there, of course, the trainer then was Tom Whittaker, who, in fact, was to become manager of Arsenal. And a wonderful man he was as well, very popular, loved by all the players.
One of many highlights of that remarkable decade in Arsenal's history came in November 1934, when no fewer than 7 gunners were picked to play for England in what turned out to be a notorious international at Highbury against newly crowned world champions, Italy.
Prince Arthur of Connaught with the bearded Signor Grandi shakes hands first with England, wearing white shirts, then with the Italian team. An Italian insists on showing the flag. The Swedish referee tosses up. Alamondi of Italy loses. Play continues at fever heat. More sensations follow. Brooke of Manchester City opens the score with a brilliant header. 1 up in 9 minutes. The pace is very fast. England continuing their forcing tactics, and now Brooke takes another penalty kick and scores again. 2 up in 12 minutes. England's vigorous assault is not yet held, and their centre-forward Drake scores with a beautiful hook. 3 up in less than a quarter of an hour. A nasty shot for the team which is referred to as World Soccer Champions.
England went on to win 3-2, but Arsenal countered the cost. Eddie Hapgood sustained a broken nose, and among the other casualties Tom Whittaker had to treat were Drake, Bastin, Moss and Copping. And it was Ted Drake who provided the highlight of the 35-36 season. He'd always led the line in swashbuckling style, often paying a price for his bravery. But on December the 14th, 1935, he set up a First Division record which still stands, scoring all 7 as Arsenal beat Aston Villa 7-1. An even bigger star was Alex James. One of the great players in British football, he was a member of the famous Scottish Wembley Wizards. And it was James who featured in a special cartoon drawn to celebrate Arsenal's 3rd consecutive championship triumph. The following season, Arsenal slipped to 6th in the league, but success was maintained when they reached an FA Cup final against Sheffield United, in which all film cameras were banned.
Cup final day in 1936 brought the usual host of enthusiasts into London by road, rail and air. They've all come up to see the Cup final, but there's been so much in the newspapers about the film war that half of them don't know if they're going to see a football match or a fight. When they see our fleet of aeroplanes and auto-gyros, they'll think it's the air pageant. Now at Wembley, as the time draws near for the start, the crowds stream along the familiar streets. They're all going into Wembley Stadium. That's where they're different from us. We're not. With dewy eyes, we watch the chosen few going in to see the great Cup final. For this year, as you've heard, the FA will not allow the newsreels inside. I don't know what it feels like to be on the FA, but on the newsreels we feel like love locked out. But it's no good trying to get inside. The officials are too... Stop that man, he's got a camera. Ball. Thanks for trying, Sydney. Now the game is about to commence. From our fleet of planes and auto-gyros you can almost hear the band. Not quite. Arsenal have won the toss and decided to kick against the wind. The direction of the wind depends on which way our planes are going. Both goals were in peril in the early stages of the game. Arsenal attacking through Bastin, James and Hume. You can easily pick out James, he's the tall one in shorts. Arsenal did most of the attacking in the second half and kept on pressing the Sheffield defence without getting that all-important goal. But in the end, Bastion gave the ball to Drake and Drake scored. Arsenal 1, Sheffield 0. If you didn't see it, it's because you're not air-minded.
Sheffield thrown in full time. So the final whistle goes, and Arsenal have won the cup this year by 1-0.
Everyone knows that the newsreels won the cup final, though Arsenal got all the credit. Captain Alex James, with goal scorer Drake, refused to hand over the cup to our heroic cameramen. And quite a number of soccer fans turned out to see the conquering heroes arrive at the Islington Town Hall for their civic reception.
To that cup triumph, Arsenal's second, was added yet another championship in '38. 5 league titles and 2 FA Cup victories in a decade assured Arsenal of immortality. At the outbreak of the Second World War, most Arsenal footballers joined the forces. Sadly, 9 of the 42 players on the staff didn't survive, and Highbury itself didn't escape hostilities. The ground was bombed several times, with the North Bank coming off worst. In the first season after the war, Arsenal could only finish 13th, but the following season another chapter in the success story was added. Sunderland were the visitors as Arsenal began their league programme with a 3-1 win. In the line-up now, Wally Barnes, Joe Mercer, Jimmy Logie, who scored that day, and Reg Lewis. Tom Whittaker had taken over from George Allison as manager, and in that 47-48 season the Gunners lost just 6 games. Amongst the great victories, a 6-0 defeat of Charlton in which Lewis scored 4, a 5-2 win over Wolves in March, and a 7-0 thrashing of Middlesbrough, Ronnie Rook getting a hat-trick in that one. Rook, in fact, was to go one better in the biggest win of the season, which was reserved for the final home fixture. Grimsby Town were the opponents, and Rook got 4 of the 8 goals that Arsenal scored that afternoon before collecting their 6th league championship. The makeup of the side was a mixture of old and new. George Swindon in goal, the Compton brothers, and Alex Forbes. But it was Rook's 33 goals which proved decisive. Perhaps the greatest character of the time, though, was Joe Mercer. At 32, he'd been persuaded to forego his grocery business in Wallasey and come out of semi-retirement following a dispute with Everton. Originally attacking wing-half, Whittaker converted the genial and bandy-legged Mercer to a defensive half-back. His outstanding leadership qualities were but a bonus, and 2 years after the '48 championship triumph, Mercer and Arsenal were chasing more cup glory.
Arsenal supporters were in great form at White Hart Lane. They certainly meant victory. But then so did Chelsea fans, who intended to see to it that their team went to Wembley. The pensioners' dark shirts kicked off, and the Gunners' dark shirts with light sleeves were very soon on the attack. Incidentally, this was the first All-London FA Cup semi-final ever played. It was undoubtedly Chelsea's first half, and they opened the score with a goal by Bentley. The match was only about half an hour old when Bentley did it again. Black mark, Bentley, said Arsenal fans, but not Chelsea. Just before half-time, Arsenal's right-winger Cox took a corner and scored direct. Half-time and Chelsea still 1-up, but Arsenal are now really putting on the pressure. It's easy to understand the excitement when from a corner by his brother, Leslie Compton heads through to equalise. Seems a popular event in some quarters. 2-2, and then near the end of the match, Cox drives in a centre, and Dennis Compton tries a header, but just misses. The sequel, a replay.
Arsenal won the replay 1-0, and for their England international fullback Laurie Scott, that 1950 Cup final against Liverpool was very special.
Well, the cup winning side was my last honour, as it were. We'd already won the championship. I've been capped for England. So obviously this cup final was a big thing to me. And I'd just been injured earlier in the year with playing against Wales for England. And so it was something to look forward to. And just to get there was a great thrill. But I think we went into the game as underdogs, but We played very well. Unfortunately, we come out as winners, so that was a great thing for me. And that's the most important thing of the early 50s for me.
Mercer spun the coin, only to see it stick upright in the mud. Next time, Taylor guessed right and said Arsenal to face a slight wind, but not enough to disconcert Mercer and his merry men.
And in particular, Reg Lewis, whose 2 goals brought the cup to Highbury for a 3rd time.
But as far as the goals are concerned, the first one was reasonably easy, in as much as it came from the back. 2 passes up to Jimmy Logie, pushed it through the middle to me, the goalkeeper came out and I was lucky enough got it past him. That was the first one, and the second one, the late Freddie Cox put the ball inside to me and I hit it on the turn, and one of those things that went in.
When you look back then, Reg, over your career, they are happy memories of playing.
Oh yeah, marvellous. Yeah, the whole thing about the Arsenal and their, going away for a week's golf and all those sort of things prior to cup matches, and that wonderful club.
That Arsenal team had plenty of ambition left, and 2 years on they were back at Wembley to face Newcastle in a match which Mercer considered to be his proudest as captain.
For the Prime Minister, who came onto the field to meet the teams, this occasion was a novel experience, and that must be a rare pleasure for such an experienced man as Winston Churchill. The 2 Joes met for the toss-up, Mercer and Harvey. Mercer won it for Arsenal. Jackie Milburn kicked off for Newcastle, and 100,000 voices got going as well as the players. It was while Newcastle were putting on the pressure that any luck Arsenal had left over was lost. Wally Barnes was injured. This brought Tom Whittaker, Arsenal's manager, into the picture. First aid for Wally's knee, but in vain. After half an hour of the match, he was out of it. Newcastle continued to drive ahead against the Gunners' team of 10 men, and soon George Swindon was being put through it. Mitchell, Newcastle's left winger, came dribbling in, beating one man after another and looked a certain scorer. But no, he lost his chance. Still, soon afterwards, he sent it to George Robledo, who headed the goal of the match.
So Arsenal's Brave Cup challenge ended in defeat. The old trophy went to Newcastle United, and it's easily forgotten that Arsenal came within 3 games of the first double of modern times that season. The only thing to do was to bounce straight back, and that's exactly what Mercer and his merry men did. The opening game of the 52-53 season took them to Villa Park.
That's Forbes doing some sleight of hand with his feet. Oh dear, can it be the Birmingham supporters dislike his artistry? But when Aston Villa scores, a very different noise. In the event, Arsenal won, whatever that means at this stage of the season.
2-1 Arsenal won, and impressive victories: 5-3 against Wolves, 6-2 against Derby, 5-3 against Liverpool, and sweetest of all, 4-0 against Spurs, set Arsenal up for another league title. But it was mighty close. To beat Preston to the Championship, Arsenal had to win against Burnley in their last game of the season. They did it, 3-2 the score, with Jimmy Logie grabbing the all-important winner. But even then the sums had to be done. The outcome was that Arsenal picked up the league trophy for a record 7th time, pipping Preston on goal average by less than 1/10 of a goal. For much of that 1952-53 season, Arsenal were again on course for the double. The 5th round of the Cup saw them at Burnley.
There was snow everywhere at Turf Moor, where Burnley were visited by Arsenal, with a crowd of over 52,000 to watch. Arsenal kicked off, Burnley in the dark shirts, and the Gunners went off with an early rush. The ball was heavy, the ground slippery, football in fact was difficult. Burnley held off Arsenal, then launched a counter-offensive. This, however, was in vain, and neither side could break through in the first half. Now Burnley kick off in the second, and very soon the Gunners are pressing hard. It was right half Forbes who was largely responsible for their first goal, which was put through by Holton. This brought Wembley a little closer for Arsenal, who promptly succeeded in scoring a second by Lishman this time, and so on to the next round.
$69,000 packed into Highbury for the Arsenal-Blackpool six-round cup tie clash, and they certainly were rewarded with a thrilling match. Blackpool kicked off, Arsenal wearing striped shirts for the occasion. The visitors were soon going strong, trying hard to penetrate the Gunners' famous defence. Inside left, Alan Brown, number 10, the Scottish international, was always prominent in the attack. The first half, however, ended without a goal being scored, and after Arsenal had kicked off in the second, it continued to look like a draw. Then, 11 minutes from time, Brown to Taylor, and it's a goal. The Gunners came storming back and soon got the equaliser through Logie. A draw? No. For now, the goal of the match. Brown comes dashing through to score the winner. Blackpool win, the Gunners are out, but so, alas, is Brown, who broke a leg in the moment of triumph. Bad luck indeed.
After Arsenal's championship triumph of '53, there followed a period in the wilderness, although not without some excitement, particularly in '56, when Arsenal looked set to go all the way to Wembley in the FA Cup.
Now to Tapscott, number 8. Arsenal still well on top. Tapscott goes through to Groves, he must score! It's there! For Arsenal after 18 minutes. Groves has scored as Charlton appealed for offside.
And Arsenal was soon to confirm their superiority in this fifth round tie at the Valley, the second goal driven home in spectacular style by Jimmy Bloomfield. So a 2-0 win and a home tie in the quarter-final against Birmingham, but it wasn't to be Arsenal's year. They went down 3-1. Despite some fine talent, major honours continued to elude Arsenal. Here in 1960, 2 of 5 goals which crushed Newcastle in a First Division game.
Alchurch, that one looks over the line, up goes the linesman's flag, throw to Arsenal. And as the sun comes out, Groves takes that throw for Arsenal to Bloomfield. Bloomfield, this delightful ball player, lovely body swerve, and heard, and a goal! Corner to Arsenal, being taken by their young centre forward, Strong, playing in his first league game. Comes that out of Vic Groves. Groves to Strong, he's got a shooting chance, he scored! It's there, he's got it!
Among the Highbury favourites at this time were Tommy Docherty, John Barnwell, David Hurd, and especially Jack Kelsey, the brilliant Welsh international goalkeeper. On their day, the Arsenal side were a match for anyone, Manchester United included.
Wills with the throw again for Arsenal, getting it back from Docherty. Noticeable that Charles at centre forward for Arsenal, moving around a lot to try and get Fawkes away from the middle. Now Groves backing up. Groves changing his mind, it seemed then. Getting it to Charles. Cross to Barnwell, a goal! It's Violet. Violet to young Giles, beaten brilliantly by Docherty, up to Barnwell, and Arsenal certainly playing some lovely football. Now it's up to Hurd, and Hurd tries one, he's a goal! Manchester's throw into Charlton, momentarily unmarked. Can he hit it fast enough? A great save by Kelsey!
I think in that time we had a team that got old all of a sudden, you know, at the end of Tom Whittaker's period with the club, and then we had a couple of managers quickly, and new players were bought that just didn't fit in, and it was a period where we were just sort of holding out in the First Division rather than winning anything. In fact, a couple of seasons I think we were lucky not to get relegated. We were that sort of close, yeah, but we survived.
Season started all right, and once again Saturday's back to normal for thousands of fans up and down the country. Leyton Orient making their debut in the First Division with Arsenal the visitors. The home team got plenty of encouragement, but it was just as big an occasion for the Gunners. It was Arsenal's first appearance under the leadership of their new manager, former international Billy Wright. His saw his team do most of the early attacking. Although it didn't exactly result in goals galore, there were plenty of pointers to an interesting season. Best of luck, Billy.
Making his debut in that opening game of the 1962-63 season was Joe Baker. He immediately showed just why Billy Wright had paid Torino £70,000 for his signature. But while goals were plentiful, the defence was vulnerable. In 1964, Arsenal scored their first goal on Match of the Day.
Baker. The ball to Strong. Out of Anderson. Strong again. Easton, a good return, a fine move and a lovely goal by Strong. A lovely goal.
Arsenal lost the game 3-2, and as the inconsistency continued, so Billy Wright experimented with new formations. The team which took the field against Sheffield United in November '65 included Don Howe and Terry Neal, both later to manage the club. 4 of the double squad, Story, McClintock, Samuels and Armstrong. And a real crowd pleaser, little George Easton.
Armstrong, Easton close to him. Armstrong and the goal, an equaliser by Baker. Up comes Story, the left back. Scott moving in, and he scored! Baker to Samuels, and Arsenal is sprightly as ever in his Armstrong is going to be number 5, yes!
The final score was 6-2, but the Gunners finished the season in 14th position, not good enough by Arsenal standards. As England won the World Cup, Billy Wright lost his job. The choice of the club's physiotherapist, Bertie Mee, as Wright's successor was not so surprising, bearing in mind the success Tom Whittaker had enjoyed in the 40s and 50s. Mee was a disciplinarian, a brilliant organiser, and with first Dave Sexton and then Don Howe as coach, began to create a side to fear. Within 2 years, Arsenal reached a Wembley final. The trophy at stake was the League Cup, the opponents Leeds United. In a Dour contest, 1 goal was always going to be enough to win the game, and it was Leeds who got it. Furnell was impeded at a corner, and Cooper lashed in a superb volley. Defeated but not downhearted, Mee and Howe brought Arsenal straight back in '69, and surely this time, with 3rd Division Swindon Town the opponents, a major trophy was on its way back to Highbury. Amazingly, on a mud heap of a Wembley pitch, Arsenal failed to convert their chances, were thwarted by Peter Downsbury's brilliant goalkeeping, or the goalpost. At the other end, the anxiety was beginning to show, and soon a catastrophic mix-up between goalkeeper and centre-half presented Smart with a gift. Swindon were ahead, and although Bobby Gould equalised, it was the Wiltshire side who ran out worthy 3-1 winners after extra time. There were those who suggested that Arsenal team would never recover from the Swindon disaster, but how wrong they were. In 1970, a first European trophy, the Fairs Cup, was Highbury bound. Sporting Lisbon a victim en route to the final.
Armstrong to Radford. McNabb. Radford! Simpson. Armstrong. Simpson again. Robertson, Arsenal moving with real authority and looking very composed. What a good header, what a good goal! Graham! Armstrong. Radford. McNabb. Yes!
After 17 barren years and an unforgettable final victory over Anderlecht, skipper Frank McClintock proudly held the Fairs Cup aloft. It was seen as a start, with better still to come. After 2 encouraging draws away from home, the first game at Highbury of the 70-71 season brought Manchester United as visitors. The strength of Mee's 17-man squad was immediately tested, with Peter Simpson and Charlie George early season casualties. Young Ray Kennedy, after playing a key role in the Fairs Cup final, became John Radford's striking partner, and oh, how he benefited.
And Nobby Stiles once more acting as assistant to the referee. On by Kelly. 14 minutes and the goal by John Radford. Just a very simple little side foot, or he made it look simple from the pass by Kelly. Story has moved to the inside right position. Armstrong in the middle. Radford on his own. Well, Stepney and Sadler have every right to say, why did you leave this man completely unmarked? 2 goals in 4 minutes for Arsenal, and John Radford gets them both. Graham, Rice, Graham, Story, Kennedy going in. Redford! A hat-trick for John Radford, his 3rd goal after 15 minutes of the second half, and what a start to Arsenal's home season. Kennedy. Radford. Then he got Kennedy up with him. Armstrong behind him. Graham going in. Bob Wilson, I just had a glance at. Very happy, as is George Graham.
The home game against Tottenham on September the 5th was Arsenal's 7th of the season. So far there'd been just 1 defeat at Chelsea, and a few days earlier an amazing draw with 10 men against mighty Leeds. Spurs had no answer.
McClintock. Radford, who run clear, Hancock off his line and never looking at getting it. Puts it in. Rice, Kelly, oh, he sent a letter. That's a good ball from Graham. He's got 3 on the far post, 1 coming across the nearest Kennedy. From Armstrong.
The consistency which Bertie Mee and coach Don Howe had demanded of the team continued with wins at Burnley and at home to West Brom. There was a confidence and belief growing in the side. But before it had turned to arrogance, there was a visit to Stoke.
Eddie Kelly. Kennedy. Armstrong. This is picked up by Burrows. Greenough in almost the right position. Roberts having to clear very quickly indeed. This is Dobing. Good ball. Greenough. To Conroy. Looking for Ritchie again. Ritchie there. And it's a goal! That was a very well taken goal indeed. Big John Ritchie scores his 6th goal of the season and puts Stoke City 1 goal ahead. The Arsenal defence was stuck there and Ritchie really rose to it. A very, very good goal. Greenough with a flick, but came to McNabb. And Ritchie. 1 man and another. Now Ritchie in with a chance. Ritchie with a shot. And what a great goal by John Ritchie. What an absolutely great goal. The Arsenal defence was staggered by the fact he fought for that ball. John Ritchie scores his 7th league goal of the season, and he did it all by himself. Greenough to Dobing. Conroy. Marsh cutting down that right wing. Good 1-2, and a good shot, and what a goal! What a goal! What
What a great 1-2 that was, and Terry Conroy put that ball past Bob Wilson. He didn't even see it. 3 goals to 0 for Stoke City, and what a beautiful play that was. This is Conroy again. Marsh is absolutely steaming down that right wing. That's a good ball. Come to Greenhoff. And the bounce of the ball is there. Greenhoff with a chance. It's a chip. And it's in the net. A great goal by Greenhoff. How beautifully he played that. He just waited for it. Arsenal's defence again in tatters. But the goal from Greenhoff, he just waited. He picked his spot and he put it in the far side of that net. And my goodness now, that crowd are going delirious. Stoke City 4, Arsenal 0, and those are 4 of the best goals we've seen for a long time. Bob Wilson must be wondering what has hit him today. And his shot blocked, again by Smith. This is Harry Burrows. Only 3 men up at the moment, but Marsh going down that right wing, and there he goes. Marsh is cutting in very fast, Ritchie with him. Marsh with a shot. With one save, there's another goal! Alan Bloor makes it 5-0 for Stoke City.
After that humbling experience, the side responded well, beating Nottingham Forest 4-0 and drawing at Newcastle 1-1. Reigning champions Everton came next.
Frankie with a bit of trouble with the sun. And John Roberts, the big Arsenal defender, has crept up to the edge of the 18-yard line. Armstrong, Graham, Kennedy! Kendall going with Kennedy. It's going to be a free kick to Arsenal. This is Rice. Kennedy! Perfectly placed by Rice. Perfectly taken by Kennedy. John Roberts. Kendall. Graham for Arsenal. The kick's been given. Again, another problem for... No, he's given the throw. I'm going to say another problem if it had been a high ball, but Radford with the throw. And he can throw a long one too. Kelly! They don't come much better. He took it supremely well. Don Howe, this talented Arsenal coach, must be so well pleased. Kennedy, Kelly. Armstrong, Story. And was it hands? Yes! Came in the offender, totally unnecessary, but clear cut. An innocuous situation. But the ball was handled. Peter Story placing it for the penalty.
Between that victory and Wolves' visit to Highbury on the 12th of December, the side stayed unbeaten, dropping just 1 point in 7 games.
Story to Radford. Armstrong, Graham. It's Wilson now to Munro. Oof. The look of Samuels, that Story. Story for Arsenal. Sparkin. Rice. Radford. McCallie was looking for Parks, and he didn't hit it properly. The corner. The Wolves' defence, which has been under such pressure in the first half, in the air from players like Radford, number 11, Graham, conceded 37 goals this season, so they've clearly suffered a little bit for their gambling and trying to score goals. That was Samuels, and that flick from Kennedy nearly played off Radford. 2-0!
That 2-1 win brought Arsenal to within 2 points of Leeds at the top of the table, and with a game in hand, skipper McClintock was optimistic.
I always felt when I was with the Arsenal team at that time that there was no weaknesses at all. Maybe not great players as the best and one or two others in the league at that time, but 11 tremendous players who would fight and die for each other. And I always had a sneaky feeling as though we would be a very, very difficult side to beat, and any team that did beat us had to play exceptionally well.
Manchester United were the next to try, but it was Frank himself who silenced the Old Trafford crowd to set up another victory.
Dab, Radford, Graham, and a goal scored by McClintock. Arsenal, who brought them all back in defence, put them all back up in attack. Fitzpatrick, the little fellow, on the goal line. Oh, another lovely header by Graham. 2-0. 2 corners, 2 goals. Rice, Kennedy, and it's 3-0. 35 minutes.
3-1 the final score, and as 1970 came to an end, a goalless draw against Southampton left Arsenal 3 points behind Leeds with just 2 defeats in 23 games. An awkward tie at non-league Yeovil began the club's memorable FA Cup run.
Story. Samuels. Rice moving up outside him. Radford in the middle. In goes Radford! It's there! 2 men up for Arsenal. Armstrong making it 3. This is Kennedy. Now Samuels coming forward. Story going outside Armstrong. Got a touch, and it's Kennedy who finally pushed it in. Kelly. Armstrong round the back. Radford up. And it's there by Radford. He just couldn't get underneath it. 2 Arsenal supporters running onto the pitch.
On to Portsmouth and the 4th round.
And Portsmouth have got 10 defenders back. And Radford brilliantly kicked away. And another corner. And there's an appeal for hands. The Arsenal players believe there was hands, and they're sending Mr. Johnson away, across to the linesman. And a penalty. The perfect penalty kick. The goalkeeper never got near it. So 35 minutes gone, 1-0 to Arsenal. Piper. Hand. A minute left. Trebilco. Bromley. Can Portsmouth save it? Arsenal out of trouble once more. Looked like it, and then back into it. A mistake by Radford. Smith, Yulden, and an open goal for Trebilco.
Happily, the replay at Highbury was 1-3-2, the reward a fifth-round tie at Manchester City.
This could be dangerous for Manchester City. Samuel's number 8 with the ball at his feet. Francis Lee lining the wall up, and 5 in the wall now. And they're going to be pulled back. George, 1-0. Booth for Manchester City. Bell. Young. McNabb. Radford. Good ball. George is not offside. He crossed the halfway line. He's on his own. Just the goalkeeper. 2-0.
The precocious talent of Charlie George seen at its best. And in the sixth round, after a goalless draw at Leicester, it was Charlie who won the replay.
George Graham looking for Armstrong. Armstrong round the outside. Armstrong still in possession. Nish coming in. It's a corner for Arsenal. Corner going to be taken by Armstrong. Shilton came out. George with a header. Charlie George scores for Arsenal. Arsenal 1, Leicester City 0, and only seconds remaining in the first half.
Even greater drama was awaiting in the semi-final against Stoke.
So it's a corner to Stoke, and look at the way they're packing that penalty area. Bob Wilson trying to get a view through the crowd of players. It'll be Harry Burrows to swing it in with his left foot. And there's some confusion there. Story. No, it's a goal. It's ricocheted back in for Stoke. Maybe off Dennis Smith. Pejic. And Burrows with the flick. Peter Simpson back there for Arsenal. And Charlie George. Oh, that's rather short. It is. It's Ritchie. John Ritchie. Stoke have made it 2-0 after 29 minutes. Armstrong with the throw for Arsenal, still 2 goals behind. Here's Ray Kennedy, hooking it back in. Banks thought about coming out there. And in the crowd, it's Story. Goal! Yes, Arsenal have got a goal. Peter Story, 2-1. And surely the last chance. We're into injury time as they swing the corner in again. McClintock off the line. Handball, was it? Yes, it was. Mahoney. Penalty. And Peter Story against Gordon Banks. What a finish. And it's in. It's a great finish for Arsenal. It's 2 each. They forced a replay, surely. And Stoke must be demoralised.
And certainly the replay was rather one-sided.
Armstrong to take the corner. It's a good header. It's there, Graham. Radford. Armstrong. Radford. Yes, Kennedy!
2-0 and an FA Cup final to look forward to. But the Championship was still up for grabs. Since January, 13 league games had produced 10 wins and 3 defeats. If Newcastle could be beaten at Highbury, it would be 8 straight victories. There were just 6 games to go.
Find it difficult to keep on top pitch all the time, but in this fierce competition you've just got to. Moncler. George. He's done it! George, perhaps having his quietest match for a long time, has done it 18 minutes from the end.
That victory left Arsenal on top with 2 games in hand over Leeds, but a draw at West Brom and defeat at Leeds meant that the last game, out of all places Tottenham, had to be won or drawn 0-0. Nothing else would suffice. The gates were shut on a 52,000 crowd 1 hour before the game, a tense struggle which came to a climax 2 minutes from the final whistle as Ray Kennedy beat Pat Jennings to clinch victory and the championship for Arsenal. So the first leg of the double was in the bag, and 5 days later, on May the 8th, Bertie Mee led his team out at Wembley alongside Bill Shankly's Liverpool. Always the better side, Arsenal again took the difficult route.
Just under 20 minutes to half-time. Game providing fine entertainment, as we all expected. Very, very tight game. No goals yet. Oh, Radford, a beautiful bit of work. And the corner, great football by Arsenal, that fine save by Lindsay as Story came in. Story keeps coming up on the blind side so often. It's a very dangerous ploy by Arsenal. It's the first corner of the match. Clements being troubled by Kennedy and fouled by Kennedy. Burley, Ray Kennedy. George. Oh, it's moving. And even the referee flung up his hands in horror at that one. A great shot from Charlie George. Just watch him let loose from this one. How many yards would you say he was outside the penalty area? About 20? Great shot. Story to Radford. And Armstrong goes in, and a great save by Clements. But what a header by Armstrong. Moved in when nobody could have seen him. Nobody could have seen him. Smith to Callaghan. Highway to Callaghan. And Evans was brought down from behind by Simpson, and this is no place in which to give away a free kick in the last seconds of the first half. Arsenal have 10 men back. Here comes Smith, Callaghan, Kinsey, and a great save by Wilson. Tremendous save by Wilson. And watch this beautiful play by Liverpool. The defence thrown off their guard. That shot from Lindsay, and a great save just with the fingertips by Bob Wilson. Kennedy back to George. A little bit of breaking on the right by Kelly, and he's got Radford with him. This is Radford number 9. And Kennedy moving to the near post. A beautiful move by Arsenal. And notice how Radford hits this one to the near post. Already Kennedy is moving. There he is out pacing the defence. And a lovely flick, a move that really deserved a goal. That's the first long throw of the match. And it's hit the bar. Hit the bar of Graham's head. And look at that throw. And notice Graham moving into it. Just gets a touch. Hitting onto the bar. No nonsense about that corner given away by Tommy Smith. Liverpool under a lot of pressure, looking in trouble now, and it's off the line by Lindsay.
0-0 after 90 minutes, but extra time soon produced a goal.
Simpson. Lloyd. Hughes to Thompson. Highway. Scored! Highway's done it! 1 minute of extra time, and Highway sold the dummy to Bob Wilson. And there's the Wembley Cop has gone wild. It was a beautifully taken goal. George to Kennedy. Radford. Oh, it's going to be the equaliser! Yes, by Graham! And Liverpool relax, and what a terrible, terrible mistake.
So 1 each and a goal still debated at Highbury today. At the time it was thought George Graham got that final touch, but in fact it proved not to be so. and Eddie Kelly was officially credited with the equaliser. But no argument about the goal that won the double.
George, he scored! George has done it! George has done it! A tremendous shot! 6 minutes and George Graham has just turned somersaults. What a great goal that was by this 20-year-old. Now he gets the ball from Radford, but watch him hit this one. So, Arsenal can go wild. And Arsenal, who finished the season under such fantastic pressure which would have broken everyone, have done it! Arsenal have done the double, and Mr. Burtonshaw even collapsed at the end. Tommy Smith the first to congratulate him. This is a tremendous feat by Arsenal after a fantastic cup final. And the police have been beaten by the odd Arsenal fan who's got onto the pitch, but they're doing a great job of keeping the rest in the paddock. And these two teams congratulating each other after a truly splendid FA Cup final. Frank McClintock must have thought that for the 5th time he was going to be beaten, but it all came good in the end, and no wonder this great Scottish international is overcome. Almost having to be pushed up the steps by Bob Wilson, but my goodness, what a climb that must be when you're that tired. And so Frank McClintock takes the FA Cup from the Duke of Kent. On Monday he took the League Championship trophy. Dr. Andrew Stephen congratulates him. A handshake from the Liverpool chairman. And so yet another trophy goes Arsenal's way. The FA Cup this time to go with the League Championship, the FA Youth Cup. Bob Wilson, McNabb, and there's Charlie George, one of the scorers, John Radford, George Armstrong, Ray Kennedy, Eddie Kelly, George Graham, Peter Storey, who had to go off, Simpson, and Pat Rice absolutely whacked. And the Liverpool fans are rising to their team, but here come Arsenal, who now start on their lap of honour. Arsenal go to the end, at which all their fans are massed, the fans who cheered them last Monday when they won the League Championship, and who now, 6 days later, have the opportunity of cheering them as they win the FA Cup to equal Tottenham Hotspur's magnificent feat in modern football of achieving a Cup and League Cup.
I think the purists in the game would have said we lacked quality. That may or may not be right, but outside of quality we had other qualities which are fundamental in a winning team and in a team that will apply itself to win the double, and they were the qualities we had. Technically certain deficiencies, but other qualities superb.
Arsenal's double was completed in 51 matches, 42 League, 9 FA Cup. It also marked the end of the Me-How partnership. 1972 proved disappointing. Ajax ended the European Cup challenge.
Krul. Hahn going forward. Oh! It's an own goal, it is! George Graham!
Ajax went on to win the competition. As for the FA Cup, a brave defence ended at Wembley itself.
Trying to take on McNabb on the outside, he's round the back. Clock!
So Leeds won the Cup. Bertie Mee stayed in charge for 4 more seasons, and on his retirement, Terry Neal took over the task of following the man who'd achieved something even Chapman hadn't. Neal had the right pedigree, 11 years an Arsenal player, and after bringing Don Howe back as coach, a team of promise began to emerge. His first signing created tremendous excitement, Malcolm MacDonald, alias Supermac.
Referee insisting on the 10-yard ruling. It's come to Alan Ball. MacDonald getting up! That's the one he wanted! And how well he put it away! He's got so much awareness on the ball, Brady. He seems to work out all the alternatives and play the best ball 9 times out of 10. That's not a bad ball from Ross either to Armstrong. Stapleton's on the far side, so is MacDonald. Stapleton! MacDonald! Armstrong, Matthews is the player in the middle. Had to check to stop being offside. Here comes Ross. Stapleton on the near post. MacDonald! And there it is! The man that seems to write the football stories better than voice fiction has gone and done it all over again.
Apart from MacDonald, the Highbury fans' real favourite was Liam Brady, as talented a footballer as the club had ever seen. A 5-0 win at Spurs illustrated the point.
Ricks for Arsenal. Oh, that was beautifully done between Ricks and Brady now has got Stapleton and Sunderland in the centre. Still Brady, beautifully done. Stapleton! 3-0 to Arsenal, and a brilliant goal. Three waiting again for the cross from Price. Stapleton. Oh, Pat Rice in there. Oh, Brady won it beautifully. Look at that! Oh, look at that! What a goal by Brady! Goal designed for the big occasion and taken with all the aplomb of a great player. 65 minutes gone and Arsenal make it 4. Brady, having said that, made it look easy.
Brady's inspiration had already taken Arsenal to the 1978 FA Cup final. They were favourites, but as so often before, the underdogs triumphed.
Geddes. Taking on the defender and winning. Osborne 1-0.
Ipswich won, but Arsenal now had a side to be reckoned with. The great Pat Jennings in goal, David O'Leary, Frank Stapleton. The next season saw them take on Wolves. At stake, another FA Cup final place.
Arsenal suggesting at the start of the second half they're about to take over. This is Rice. Now, can Wolves survive this? Talbot. Price. Won it well, Stapleton. Oh yes, Fred Stapleton. He deserves the goal more than any other player on the field. And just look at the reception. Sunderland is through. Alan Sunderland scores against his old club, the goal that almost certainly means Arsenal are destined for Wembley.
Yes, Arsenal were back, with Manchester United, managed by old Arsenal coach Dave Sexton, the opponents. For 85 minutes, it looked a doddle.
Buchan and Sunderland now close together. This is Brady trying to shake off Macari. Sweet skills from Brady. Stapleton out on the right. Trying to feed Price. Price is in here for Arsenal. Talbot on right and Sunderland the right as well. This is Brady. Good skills from Brady. Two waiting in the centre for the cross. Stapleton! 2-0 to Arsenal. Stapleton scores. Just 4 minutes on the clock. Arsenal 2, Manchester United 0. Free kick to United. Jimmy Greenough fouled. And they've got to make something of this now, Manchester United, to stay in with a chance of a dramatic recovery in the last few minutes. Left for Koppel. Thomas almost got a flick on, appeals for hands against Jordan. And McQueen! Gordon McQueen turned it in! It'll come back again from Nicol. When he finally gets round to it. Everybody was waiting upfield, and they still are for United. Koppel. McElroy's through. McElroy's through. And McElroy has done it! What drama here! McElroy for United. It's 2-2. There's a minute left on the clock. Brady for Arsenal. Right across. Sunderland! It's there! It's 3-2. Arsenal are back in front for Alan Sunderland. The moment every captain at whatever level in football dreams about. The cup belongs to Arsenal.
One of the double heroes, Pat Rice, lifted the cup, and the next season he had the honour of leading Arsenal to a third successive final appearance, one claimed only after Brian Talbot's header ended Liverpool's resistance in a thrilling 4-game semi-final. The 1980 final was an all-London affair, settled by a rare header from one of football's gentlemen.
Oh, Devonshire's round the back. Oh, right across, it's free. Driven in, and is it a goal? It is. Brooking.
4 days after the West Ham defeat, Arsenal were due to meet Valencia in the Cup Winners' Cup final, one set up by this historic 1-0 win at Juventus, Paul Vasson the scorer. Against Valencia, it all came down to penalties.
Graham Rix has to score to keep Arsenal alive. If he misses, Valencia win. That's why Arsenal, taking their penalties second, are under greater pressure until Valencia miss another one. Graham Rix, as Paul Barron watches again. There are one or two of them actually who don't really want to watch this. But now Rix. Oh, he saved it! And Valencia have won the Cup Winners' Cup because Graham Rick's penalty was saved by Carlos Pereira.
2 finals, 2 defeats. Worse was to follow. Liam Brady became a free agent and left for Juventus. There was still a lot of talent in the side. Vladimir Petrovic, Tony Woodcock, young Paul Davis. But healthy league positions, 3rd in 81, 5th in 82, were no compensation. The Cup semi-final of 83 against Manchester United promised real glory again.
Ball by John Hollins to Rix. Robson is again well forward for Arsenal, and Bailey comes to meet him, and here comes Petrovic, and Robson's in there, and so is Woodcock.
The joy was short-lived. United came back to win 2-1. Terry Neal lost his job in December 83. Ironically, just before one of his biggest signings, Charlie Nicholas banged in 2 goals in a 4-2 Boxing Day win at Spurs. Nicholas had cost Arsenal £650,000, but hadn't immediately lived up to his superstar status. As for Neal's replacement, well, eventually, thanks to a good finish to the season, it was Don Howe. He deserved the chance, but was under no illusions.
Directors are peculiar people. You know, they act completely differently in football as they do in their own businesses. Who knows how they think? All I shall do is do the job I receive, Bob, and let them get on with all the decisions.
The start of the 84-85 season was more than promising. Just 1 defeat in the first 5 games, and champions Liverpool made to look ordinary.
Liverpool have pulled everybody back, and Brian Talbot and Charlie Nicholas, either one of them might fancy their chances from this central position. And Talbot, yes! 2 in a week for Brian Talbot. In the same corner, the same flighted free kick, and Grobbelaar was just as powerless as the Newcastle goalkeeper on Tuesday. Brian Talbot, who's suddenly taken to these because Graham Rix is not in the side, and he's mastered the art, call it a la Platini if you like, of curling them away from the goalkeeper into the corner. Here's Robson. And again, Anderson's joined the attack outside of Kennedy, and he got there too, and Davis was in there, and Woodcock was in there.
to Arsenal. Woodcock the scorer. And Mariner was hoping to get a free kick there, but the advantage really is Anderson's. Talbot! Liverpool caught standing and watching. And a fine goal by Brian Talbot.
The winning run stayed only until October. Inconsistency crept back in, and in January, 3rd Division York City found themselves in a position to inflict upon Arsenal a humiliating last-minute cup defeat. Keith Houchin, the penalty taker.
It's all down to Lukic from the Arsenal point of view. And he's done it!
Any such cup defeat for Arsenal will always make headlines, as Don Howe knew only too well. And although he guided Arsenal to a challenging position for the title next season, he was upset by the manner of another cup defeat at Luton and resigned. So we come to the present day and Highbury's lively dressing room.
The shots arrive. Oh! Eric, where's Dave? Hey, boy! Hey, have you done this, boy? That's all it counts.
Every dressing room needs a comedian to ease the tension before the moment of truth. And when you are an Arsenal player, there is an added tension. You constantly live with the past and know that a trophy is expected. It's expected by the fans on the terrace and the fans who make use of the luxurious restaurant within the West Stand. The appeal of Arsenal is worldwide. The traditions built in the 30s are maintained, with the Arsenal Board of Directors entertaining their guests lavishly and with style. Of course, similar generosity is now commonplace at the top level of the game, but other rare traditions also remain. The boardroom, for instance, is bedecked in flowers of the opposing team's colours, in this case the red and yellow of Watford. These touches and the trophy cabinets packed with memories are a constant reminder of the true greatness of this wonderful football club. 100 years after it came into existence, Arsenal lives on, proud and determined. And to one of the famous double-side George Graham falls the task of leading Arsenal to new glories at a time of changing standards.
In society, standards are falling. Now, if that's a problem in society, I'm going to try to make sure it's not going to be one of Arsenal problems in the future. I want ambitious young men with the right attitude, allied with skill, and I think that would be an ideal combination.
So finally, George, are real ambitions that you hold for this job and this club?
Yes, to actually repeat the successes that I had as a player. If I could do that as a manager, I'd be a very, very happy person.
The next 100 years will no doubt bring more triumphs and trophies to Arsenal, more dramas and heartaches. But what has already been achieved remains a shining example and inspiration to others.
Having travelled the world with the Arsenal and the England side, I still think that they are very much a world power. The name will live forever, I'm sure.
Avenues and streets and that have been named after the Arsenal, various places in the world. That in itself is a good advert, isn't it?
As you well know, there was a rapport between the players and Don and myself, and not very often you get that, and maybe this was a big factor. It was a wonderful family.
We travelled first class by train, stayed in first class hotels, all first class meals. Everything about the club just was first class.
The training facilities, the ground itself, the dressing rooms, the aura it had, the tradition it had.
Well, I think it's one of the best, and to me, the best.
Memories that we should never forget, really. Wonderful club. The club.
George, he's done it! Sunderland, it's there! It's 3-2!